Good afternoon. Um, this is Panic Consulting's ArcGIS workshops, and I'm Frank Cockling. On this workshop, we are really lucky in that we have a presentation by Heather Campbell of MNC Limited on the web-based survey plan checkers that they've gone and implemented. If you don't, if you're not aware of MNC, MNC is a gold partner for ESRI, and they do have done business and really interesting projects in Canada, the Caribbean, and in the United States. So with that, I'm going to let Heather go ahead and take over. All right. It's all yours,
Great,
Heather.
great, thanks. Okay, I will share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen okay?
We've got it.
Great. All right, well, thank you very much for inviting me to present today. Um, I really appreciate the ability to share a bit more about our web-based survey plan checker applications. So our agenda for today, we are going to talk a little bit about MNC, and then dive a bit further into the various different projects that which we've implemented web-based survey plan checkers. And then I'm going to do a live demo utilizing one of our applications called SPOC. And then at the end, we can leave time for questions. So first, a little bit about MNC. So we were established in 1998 and are located in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. At MNC, we are proud to be an Esri Gold partner, as you said, Frank, and currently the only company in Canada with the Esri parcel management specialty. As a leader in cadastral and parcel mapping for over 25 years, our team excels in advanced GIS platforms, including ArcGIS Pro, FME, Bentley, and AutoCAD. And we specialize in creating sustainable land management solutions that serve as foundational layers for land-based e-services. And we do have a story map as well. I won't pull it up here, but if you go to our website at mncl.ca, you can learn a little bit more about MNC there. Okay. One of our recognitions last year we were recognized as a cornerstone partner at the 2023 Esri Partner Conference for 20 years of commitment to Esri and ArcGIS technology. Another is that one of the applications that MNC and our sister company, Silvacom CS, stood up in partnership with Orange County in California. We developed the Parcel Checker application, which is a new survey plan checking tool that revolutionizes how parcel checks can be automated. The parcel checker is a cloud-based system that surveyors use to test their files in advance of submitting to Orange County staff. And this saves cost and time in the approval process. And the easy-to-use interface and simplified workflows result in an expedited process. And so this was highlighted on stage. We've also built mission-critical plan checking based initiatives for governments in Canada and the US, and we can build the entire vision or partner with a team, we can build the entire vision and partner with a team to do parts of the work. So 3 of our applications were stood up in 3 Canadian provinces. Each application is unique. They validate CAD files based upon the specific business rules for each province. To keep up with current technology, some of these applications have also been modernized. So as you can see, the SPOC application, which I'm going to be demoing today, was originally stood up in 2010 and was modernized in 2020. And then similar with the other 2 applications that are noted there, they have recently undergone modernization as well.
So Heather, while before you
Mhm.
move on from that, the one
Yeah.
of the things that's really impressed me is when you start talking about the volume of parcels that you've got and the volume of actually submittals that you've gone through. Can you mention that a little bit? How many submittals you get on each of these plans or generally?
That's a great question. I can say generally, on the SPOC application, there's probably maybe 20, 30, 40 submissions a day. That's a guess, but I think that our general manager, Ellen at MNC, might have some more insight on this, and I believe she's on the call. So Ellen, did you want to maybe share your insight?
Yeah, I will say, typically this time of in Alberta right now, we are registering about 400 plans at land titles a month that we end up putting through. Well, everybody that registers a plan at a land titles has to use the SPOC application in Alberta. However, as you can imagine, being a checking tool, many of the surveyors put their files through 2, 3, 4 times. So at least probably I'm going to say it gets used anywhere from 400 to maybe 800 times per month here in Alberta. Hopefully that helps.
Well, that does. That does. The other thing that I was going to actually what I was looking for is how many millions of plans you actually have submitted in some of these provinces.
Oh, okay, so the titles that we manage is like, I think 1.6 million titles, and we manage, I guess, probably 500,000 plans, a survey that we've entered over the years, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Thank you, Ellen. I just wanted to sort of make sure that everyone understood that these are not trivial. This is a lot of volume that's coming in there, and there's a lot of information stored in all of these systems. Thank you.
Great, thanks.
So some benefits realized as a result of these plan checker applications. There's reduced errors and costs. So by identifying survey plan errors prior to plan registration, costs are reduced through automated checks and any associated costs for resubmissions or corrections. So as Ellen mentioned, surveyors can run their files through SPOC multiple times. And then if there are errors that are encountered, they can fix those and then run it through again. So it is a time saver there. Improved quality. So all process files are verified to ensure compliance with georeference requirements and parcel closures or other survey elements that need to be included. It's user-friendly. So the system alerts surveyors if any necessary plan information is missing or appears to be incorrect, and guiding the process before the final submission. There are visual checks for users, so users can view their plan relative to the entire cadastral or parcel fabric and identify any plan anomalies or conflicts prior to submission. There are faster approvals and improved quality. Digital workflows help streamline the overall quality of the registration documents through automated business rule checks and validation. And then overall reduced efforts. So registry staff can focus their efforts on registering documents instead of verifying that files match the submission requirements. The first application that we built was SPOC, so Survey Plan Online Checker, back in 2010. And I'm going to be demoing the modernized version of that in a little bit. So MNC was engaged by the government of Alberta to build a geospatial web map application that would allow Alberta land surveyors to verify that their survey plans meet Alberta land title specifications before submitting applications for approval to Alberta's Land Title Office, or LTO. MNC developed SPOC, which is a custom geoprocessing service that imports a CAD file and performs various business rule checks to validate its contents and formatting, and then provides a package that is ready for submission to land titles. Then MNC partnered with Silvacom CS, which is our sister company, to build a web-based plan submission and checking tool called Plan Submission, the Saskatchewan Information Services Corporation. And it auto-verifies business rules before submitting to plan processing. So it leveraged the functionality from SPOC that was used by Alberta land titles, and so making it's a unique commercial off-the-shelf solution as we kind of use the same platform to develop these applications. And then building on the success of SPOC and PSO, MNC and Silvacom CS, we built a web-based plan submission and checking tool called Survey Plan Submissions. So the acronyms get a little bit much, but but this was for the province of BC, for the Land Title and Survey Authority of British Columbia, and that was in 2016. So the web-based digital plan submission and checking system through which BC land surveyors submit their land data sets is SPS. So the CAD files and survey plan images are checked against LTSA business rules before submission. And then currently LTSA is modernizing SPS to align with their other internal systems. And then finally, so through consultation, training, and the development of the parcel checker application, MNC and Silvacom CS also provided an application for Orange County with efficient tools and workflows to ensure accurate and timely submissions of survey plans, which ultimately saves time and cost to the approval process and reduces plan rejections. So as mentioned earlier, the application built for Orange County was highlighted on stage at the Esri UC at the 2023 plenary session. Okay, so I am going to get into the demo. Okay, so what we should be seeing on screen is the landing page for SPOC. So, all right, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to direct you to this Learn More button. So what this does first off is it directs users to the help desk application. So this is where users can go to learn a bit more about SPOC. There are also a number of articles that have been published where users can find out answers to any troubleshooting questions that they might have. So for instance, when it comes to the CAD files that need to be submitted, a surveyor might want to know what are the actual requirements. So if I just search, so what CAD file versions can be submitted to SPOC, for instance. So this gives a listing of all the various ones that are available. And then plus there are lots of different articles as well, and it continues to evolve. If there is a support ticket that users need to submit to our staff, they can do so by clicking the new support ticket and then fill out the information as necessary and also attach a file if they need to. So I'll go back to the sign-in page. And one thing I'll mention is that only registered land surveyors can create a SPOC account. So to create an account, you just click this button, and then you would fill out the required information. And then an activation link is sent to the user's email address, and the user needs to select the link in order to activate the account. So for the purpose...
Heather, I'm going to interrupt you here. So SPOC is the one that's running in Canada, right?
In Alberta, yeah.
In Alberta. So that interesting. So only land surveyors, because in Alberta you actually have a land registry system versus the United States, which has a land title information system. Correct?
I might defer that one to Ellen as well.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. So you basically, from a surveying standpoint, you basically have a Torrens system in which you have a central authority which goes and determines where the property is located. Down here in the lower 48, we're a little bit different in that it's more of a wild, wild west, and that we don't have a centralized system. But what's interesting is that what Orange County has done is they've standardized their submissions so that these CAD files can be submitted for approval. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
Thank you. All right. I just so that the system overall can be modified so that you don't have to be a land surveyor, even though I'm very thankful that you have done this and it uses survey registration for Canadian surveyors. But I'll let you go ahead. I just wanted to go and point out that what you're seeing right now is the Canadian system, but it can be modified in any way if you wish to go and implement this on the individual counties as Orange County has done.
Right. I'm also going to say in Canada here, each province is a little different. So in Saskatchewan, the PSO application, they submit their plans right to basically the registry system. They check them and then it goes into their land title system. In Alberta here, we the surveyors use this application to check their files. They get a nice package. They take that package and submit it to land titles because that's the way the system was developed and hasn't, it's going to be modernized, but until now, that's the way we have to do it. And then in BC at LTSA, I do believe they submit directly to the land title system also. So there is a variation in Canada.
I do have to say that some of us down here in the United States and are very jealous of this system, only because we know some of the issues involved with just, free for all recording a deed, and that's supposedly you're going to have to map it off of that deed with no real checks or anything done on it. So yes, please keep continuing.
For sure. So for the purposes of demonstration, I have an account, so I will log in. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do this demo today. So I'm not a land surveyor. Okay, so one of the things you'll notice on this page is that there's an icon in the upper right-hand corner with some other information. So this will take you to the Help Center, which is the first place that we went to before. I can also look at my profile information. So this is just warning me in case I was doing any work that it would be lost by because I'm navigating away from it. So this just is some information, and I can update my profile information as necessary. So by clicking cancel, it takes us back here. And yeah, the next thing that I will show is that we can get started preparing a survey plan for submission. So I'll draw your attention to the panel on the left because it describes the steps to go through in SPOC to validate and prepare the submission package. So if we go ahead and get started, at the top here, you'll see that there is an option to add an additional email. And why you might want to do this is because this field allows SPOC correspondence related to the plan to be emailed to a secondary email address. And why you might want to do that, for instance, if I'm a land surveyor and I've created my account, I may want my team to receive a copy of the submission package, or a draftsperson might prepare the package on behalf of the land surveyor. And in this case, the draftsperson can enter in their email as a secondary address, since the surveyor is the one with the SPOC account. Their email is the primary address, and they will receive all SPOC correspondence automatically. But a draftsperson might use the login to be able to run this through SPOC, and it might be multiple times, for instance, to make sure that all the checks are caught. But yeah, this is just a useful addition to the application. So below this field, you can see that we have the option to either drag and drop a file or browse for the CAD and image files, which make up the survey plan for submission. So I can search for those files or drag and drop. So I'm just going to move this off to the side because I have a folder here, and I'm going to choose the drag and drop option. So this is my CAD file. I can just drag it into this folder right here. And then it asks what version of the file it is. I happen to know that this is a 2010. There are ways to look that up, but if you're the person who's prepared this file, you would know what that is. And then it also asks for the plan image as well. And it's accepted that because in this case, the plan names must match, and it has to be this file type. Now, again, this is just the SPOC application requirements. These are all customizable for whatever the requirements might be. But yeah, these are the requirements in Alberta. So I have, for instance, this file, which is a TIFF, but it's got the wrong name. So I'm getting a warning that the file names must match. So I can, I'll delete that and then put that here. And then if, for instance, if I wanted to put the file name here, I'll get a warning saying that it has to be a CAD file. So yeah, there's some checks.
Interesting. And so those people that may not be familiar with a PLT file is a plot file out of AutoCAD, out of a CAD file. And so interesting.
So if I go next here, then this takes us to the survey details page. And that's where I can start entering information from the actual survey plan. So I have the plan here, and you can see this is a simple subdivision plan, and it contains a bunch of different information here in the map body. So that is what I'm going to be referencing. So I will just see if I can park this off to the side. Gives a bit more room. Okay. So the first thing we're looking for is the date. So I've got the date showing right here. And I can use our date picker to, let's take us all the way back to 2020, May 5th. Survey type, we can see that that's a subdivision. The municipal type, in this case, it's Leduc County. So it is a municipal district or county. And the specific one is Leduc County. If there were any additional comments, I could add them here. In this case, I will leave that blank. Legal locations. So every plan includes township information. And if you have multiple, you can enter in multiple. But in this case, I will just enter the one, which is Northeast 31 49 3 5. I can add that. And yeah, if there were multiple, I could go ahead and add those in, but I would just click save. And then we've got the georeference information. So I will navigate down here a little bit because plans can be submitted in more than one projected coordinate system. In this case, this is original. You can see that in Edit E3 original. The survey method right here is GNSS, as noted right here. This has been georeferenced to, oh, where does it say? Oh, PPP, I believe. So precise point positioning, or PPP for short. That's what that means. The projection itself, excuse me, is UTM. So I'm going to click that. And then the central meridian is noted right here. So that's 117 or zone 11. Okay.
You know, I find it interesting that on your projection, it's referenced as UTM 6TM. Is that the only UTM? Oh, I see. You've got other UTMs and other areas and other projections that you're using.
I think these are more specific to Alberta, these ones, or more frequently used in Alberta. Section 47 delayed posting, that's a specific Alberta question as well. In this case, the answer is no. Mapping plane coordinates, so that's the combined scale factor that you can see here, and it's noted. So let's enter that in, 0.99540. And is it oriented to grid? Yes, bearings are grid. So yes. Okay, so I'll click next. And now we are on a survey summary page. So it just shows all the information that I just entered. So it's just a quick check to make sure that there's nothing that looks off before I get ready to run it through the checks.
Heather, do you want to mention that the other two applications, PSO and SPS, have an automated process? You don't have to manually key this in. It reads the information off the survey plan, but the requirements Alberta was different. So just so you know, there is lots of options to scrape these files and automatically put them in, and the surveyor or whoever's submitting, because in Saskatchewan, I don't believe you need to be a surveyor when you're submitting plans. So you can review this and then edit on the fly.
Alan, that's interesting. Yeah. I was going to comment that this is very, very detailed what you're actually requiring for submittals, and here in the U.S., it's rare that you're providing this amount of detail with a CAD submittal. I'm wondering how long, or how long has Alberta or BC or any of the others actually had these CAD standards that required this.
So we were very fortunate here in Alberta. I think it was in 1990, early 90s, that the director surveys mandated that all plans submitted by surveyors to land titles for registration had to be digital. And we provided at that time land titles needed a specific specification. However, we didn't want to mandate that the surveyors change the way they do things. So we gave them tools to modify, because most of them were in AutoCAD back then, modify their layers from their working layers into what land titles required. So that was back in 1990. So really key here is to have digital plans to a specific standard, or not even, as long as the regulatory body has a standard. With all the tools out there these days, you can map layers to whatever the requirements are quite easily.
I was just going to comment, bravo for that. That's something we've been trying down here, and it's never really catches. Also, you mentioned about the standardized layering structures that the receiving entity is requiring, and then mandating that either the surveyors go and submit it that way, or you put in place some procedures where it automatically will take the ones that are submitted and convert it into what the receiving entity is looking for. Great job. Thank you.
Well, and if you can imagine back in 1990, even I think today, sometimes the surveyors don't like to change the way they do things. Am I right?
You are right. We tend to be very independent. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but bravo. Good for you.
Mhm.
Right.
Thanks.
All right, so I will click next to start running those checks. So there are three essential quality assurance checks that run. So first, a structure check provides the user with acknowledgement that the submitted CAD file meets the required layer and element structure. So it looks for specific layer names, for instance, in the CAD file. Second, the CAD file is processed through a georeference check to ensure that the CAD file is georeferenced and accurate. That's georeferenced accurately and is consistent with the legal land description, projection, and datum that were specified in the metadata. And then thirdly, a dimension check. So line lengths are compared with their associated annotated dimension text. And once those checks finish running, we can select each test and view the different test results. So for the structure one, we can see that it passed, georeference, digital CAD passed. And so if there were any errors, you'd be able to see more detailed descriptions here of what has been flagged in the check. And then as far as the dimension check goes, so what it's looking at is it's looking at the actual text and line, and it's actually doing a comparison between what's been noted in the plan and then the actual geometry of the line.
So Heather, you realize I can't let that go when you said that it was positioned accurately. So is there standards that in fact it has to go and be within a certain um, tolerance for the positioning?
It has to, so what, remember that we entered in the legal land description. So that corresponds to like a specific quarter section. And so basically the check is looking because the CAD file itself is georeferenced. So when you take the layer from the CAD file, which contains the actual plan boundary, as you see in this black outline, what it'll do is it'll position it up against a base map, essentially, where there is an entire provincial grid, I think, to either the quarter section or the section level, and just ensures that it's positioned in the correct noted township area or section, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does. So it basically is just checking the envelope to make sure it's inside where it's supposed to be. It doesn't necessarily look for positioning within that larger envelope, though. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say, for instance, this one, it's in the northeast quarter. So basically, it'll take this line boundary from the CAD file And as long as it is within this boundary, then it would be noted as having the correct georeference information.
That's exactly what I was looking for. I just wanted to make sure that you weren't doing some AI magic here to make sure that it was exactly where it was supposed to be. Thanks.
Yeah.
No, but I do think there are more checks in some of the other applications to make it more like a lower tolerance for the checks, right? So again, all modifiable depending on the client's needs.
Yeah. Yeah. So with all the validation results that we have here, we can be sent an email with the validation results. In particular, if there are some outputs from the dimension check, which is yellow because it's not a pass fail, it's more of a warning. It's just to direct users to any potential issues that they might want to review. But if there was a relatively large difference in here, it wouldn't be like a fail on the part of the check.
So sorry, Heather. So are these measurements, are these meters or are they feet?
Meters.
Okay, so 200ths of a meter is okay. I got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in this email right here, for instance, I can see that validation results have finished. So the structure check passed, the georeference passed, the georeference file check, or the georeference check passed, and the dimension check. So that table that we saw on screen is output in a CSV here, CSV file that can be reviewed. Okay, so I'm going to go next. And so the next thing is it's going to take that line work that I mentioned. So this, the plan outline as well as the dimension information, I believe, and it's going to place it against the entire fabric background. So you can have more of a visual check to ensure that it's been positioned correctly.
While we're waiting for that, for anybody that's here, if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and put them up in the chat window. I forgot to mention that early on, and I'll make sure that they get passed on, or we'll ask those questions because I'm sure other people have comments besides me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is overlaid against the entire cadastral fabric for Alberta, and it gives the surveyor the opportunity to check that surrounding features have been considered prior to submitting the plan for registration. The map viewer includes various tools, so you can pan, zoom in, zoom out, zoom to the plan extent. In addition, you can see line work from the whole survey plan as well as the just the submission layer. So this can be toggled on and off. So in this case, you can see that by toggling this on and off, certain information is included or not included. And yeah, so this is just another visual check.
So is this primarily just a feature service that's being used to go and compare the two? It's not really being inserted yet. We also have to be careful about mentioning fabric because often that denotes Esri's GIS parcel fabric. Is this an Esri parcel fabric yet, or is this just a fabric series of layers?
So this is just the base. It's not in parcel fabric. It's yes, I believe it is a feature service.
Base.
Yeah. So once we've confirmed that, I will click yes, submit. And so I'm getting a notification that the plan package will be emailed to me so that it can be submitted separately. So here we are. I can see that I've got that email. In the meantime, I'm just going to go back to the home page. And if I open up the email, I can see that that has come through. And it's letting me know that I have a package that is ready to download. So I can click this link and download the package. I will save it just to the desktop. There we go. Okay. So right here, And so this zip file contains three different files. So it contains the plan image that we uploaded in the first step, as well as the CAD file that we uploaded in the first step. And then this is a file that contains all that metadata. So everything that was manually entered can then be retrieved. So when this is submitted to land titles, then that information will be able to be extracted and used to populate things on the land titles side of things. Okay, so I believe that is basically the demo. So I'm going to go back to PowerPoint. Okay. All right. So
Heather,
everything.
sorry, can I just talk about the zip package for a minute?
Yeah, definitely.
Only the land titles has the key to open that file. The only thing the surveyor can add to that package is, let's say there's a survey condo plan with maybe 10 pages. They could actually add that into the package, but they can't edit the package. They can only add additional information into the package if they so need to. So for the security sake of the surveyors, right? So thank you.
Yeah, that is correct. And that's a good point. Yeah. And so everything that I've just walked through, you can also see a recorded version of this on that same landing page where it says watch demo. And
And you
yeah,
don't
that is essentially, oh, go
right?
ahead.
For those two, the watch the video, and for the learn more, you don't need an account. Anybody can do that, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. You can just go to that website, which I've noted here. And no, you don't need to log in to be able to watch that.
Thank you.
Well, it looks like you've definitely gone and gone through a couple of different iterations because it seems to be pretty smooth as far as what you're actually submitting and such and giving some good feedback to others. Um, have you tried or have other areas requested that this same sort of functionality be applied to their entities?
Are we standing up more plan checker applications? Is that what
Yes.
you're looking
Yeah. Sorry for phrasing it that way, but yes.
at? Well, I don't believe it currently at the moment, but because we've got a commercial off-the-shelf solution at this point with the framework in place to be able to stand up new applications based on business requirements, that could certainly be something in the future.
Interesting. Has it been, or is there any discussion of functionality that's not integrated into this that you might want to put in here also? Has anyone expressed any interest in expanding this further?
I think, well, I mean, what Ellen was mentioning is that there are other applications that we have done that have more capabilities that other jurisdictions want, such as maybe the ability to be able to read that metadata information directly from a CAD file or potentially even directly from a PDF. I think those are kind of things that jump out to me. And again, it's just based on user requirements and business rules.
Thanks.
I was going to mention there is no fee charged to the surveyors. Alberta Data Partnership in Alberta supports this, and a little bit of money from the government, but very minimal. So it's a free service to the surveyors, and I do believe it is free in Saskatchewan and BC also. Their modules, I believe so too, which is a huge benefit to have a nice QA system. Saves the surveyor lots of time and costs, right?
I agree. I agree that that's one of those things that I'm sure many surveyors, many entities, many organizations that require submissions would have some way of going and verifying this before they actually need to go and start integrating into their organization's data.
And sorry,
Go ahead. Go
this can
ahead.
build into anything. I mean, it doesn't have to be survey plans. It can be any kind of CAD files as long as you have some specific rules that the business rules need to adhere to. We can modify it to tailor it to any business rules that the entities need. So it is very customizable
Thank you. And thank you, Heather, for putting up your information page, and hopefully you get some context from this. Um, I'll leave it up there for a couple more seconds, and then I'll go and I'll share my screen. All right.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. And then here's our screen. Hopefully everyone enjoyed this workshop. And we get some good comments and feedback on here. Um, as always, if you have any suggestions for new topics, please go ahead and send them to us, and we appreciate it. So I'm going to stop the recording. If you're here right now in person, stick around. We're going to turn everybody's webcam on and unmute their mics and have an open discussion about this. So thank you again for coming, and hopefully you enjoyed this workshop.